Welcome to Your Vote Counts, candidate interviews sponsored by Capital Community TV and the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk Counties. My name is Diana Bodker, and I am a member of the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan political organization that works to educate ourselves and the public about government issues and civic responsibilities. In this program, we will present the candidates for Legislative Senate District 10. They are alphabetically Deb Patterson and Jackie Winters. Our format for this forum is as follows. Each candidate has 3 minutes to give an opening statement outlining their background, qualifications, and top priorities if elected. Following that, each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to answer questions that have been prepared by League members on current issues. The candidates were not given the questions ahead of time. At the end, the candidates will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement in which to state the legacy they would like to leave if elected to that office. Seating was not designated, and question-response order will rotate. We will begin with Ms. Patterson as candidate A for opening remarks. Ms. Patterson.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Deb Patterson, and I'm the Democratic candidate for Senate District 10, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and CCTV for this opportunity to be here, and I'd like to thank Senator Winters as well. I'm here to talk about issues facing our district and state and to ask for your vote. Why am I running? First, healthcare costs too much, and we aren't covering everybody. Good healthcare should be affordable and accessible to all. I used to run an international health organization, and I know we can do better. Second, the children in our schools are falling behind in graduation rates and in academic achievement. I've seen the hard work of our teachers through my own children who graduated from South. We can do better for our schools, too. And third, we need to stand up at the state level for our environment and for human and civil rights. For decades, I've been a healthcare advocate. I ran the International Parish Nurse Resource Center working with RNs who helped people access care in 23 countries around the world. Earlier, I was founding vice president of a children's health foundation that worked on early intervention and have served on the senior management team of a large health system. I fought for access to care for decades. I'm married. My husband teaches at Willamette and the mom of 2 young adult children. When our special needs daughter needed extra help with her transition from high school into the workplace, I stepped down from my health advocacy work and returned to an earlier profession, doing ministry part-time. I've been ordained clergy for 27 years and now serve in an historic congregational church in the area, helping people access needed services. Today, we have a tremendous opportunity to work together for the future of all Oregonians. I'm out there knocking on a lot of doors, listening to people. More than 250,000 Oregonians, that's 6.2% of our state's residents, have no health insurance today. Businesses, especially small businesses, are spending too much on health insurance premiums rather than raises, which could help make housing more affordable for their employees. Here in Oregon, we're 48th in the nation in high school graduation rates, and students are lagging behind in academic achievement as well. We must reduce class sizes, lengthen the school year, and expand early childhood education. We need after-school programs in every school. We need to invest in career technical education in every high school and make college more affordable. How can we do this? Large corporations need to pay their fair share in educating their workforce. And we must stand for the environment and our neighbors. We can and must have clean energy jobs with good wages that will reduce carbon in the air. We must protect the rights of women to choose their healthcare options, and we must stand with workers and consumers and for diverse communities. The philosopher and author Cornel West has stated, "Justice is what love looks like in public." If elected, I look forward to the chance to take part in creating legislation which moves that justice forward for all in this great state of Oregon. Thank you.
Ms. Winters.
Hello, I'm State Senator Jackie Winters, and I am honored to be your state senator and representing you in District 10. I am running for re-election. You elected me in 1998, and you continued to represent me, to elect me in 2001, and again in 2004, 2000, and my latest was 2014. Oregon is a great place to live. I know, because I was raised here, and I have been in this community for over 47 years. My children, 4 sons, attended Leslie Junior High, Candelaria, and South Salem. My granddaughter attended South High. I have 11 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. During my time here with you, here in this community, I was involved in many organizations here, including president of the NAACP and a member of the Human Rights Commission. Together, we worked to build positive race relationships. I was also campaign chairman of the United Way, spearheading the first $1 million campaign in this community. As a South Salem Rotarian, I helped to create the Bite of Salem. I have proudly served 2 governors, Governor Tom McCall and Governor Victor Attia. I was the state ombudsman, the largest complaint department in the state. And during my time as the ombudsman, I helped to create the Oregon Food Share, now known as the Oregon Food Bank, which continues to this day to serve in our communities those who are in need of assistance. I spent 18 years as a small business owner, and as that small business owner, I have tied I love you, Jackie's Ribs Bibs, on a lot of you, serving you, your children, and your family. I have been a part of this community fabric, giving service in one way or the other, whether it is working as a volunteer, helping to build a strong community base. And as your state senator, I am so proud to serve you.
All right, Ms. Winters, you have the first question. Although unemployment is dropping, many are still unable to compete for jobs or make enough to afford housing. What do you see as steps the state can take to address housing homelessness issues?
You are correct that the unemployment rate is dropping, but also the salary income rate is growing. I think the latest that we saw that we are growing, and we are trying to reach the national average, and we're not that far behind. That's what is one thing that's going to help us. The other thing, in looking at affordable housing and some of those other issues, recently, as you may have noted, that through legislation that we did called LIFT, there was 180 small units that were just opened with the combination of private industry as well as the state and the city coming together to provide for low-income affordable housing. That housing, those units are for families who desperately need them, and the range of rent is from $600 to $900 a month. That's one way that we can actually address some of the affordable housing issue. There's a number of other initiatives. In fact, I'm going to be on a panel with Commissioner Cameron, as well as an individual who has a grant program at United Way later this month to talk about ways of getting affordable housing for the community and those individuals who desperately need it.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Patterson?
Yes, I'd agree with Senator Winters that our wages aren't far behind the national average, but the national average wages are still too low. Wages haven't kept pace with the rising cost of housing, and minimum wage is much lower than other places across the country, but we need to do better. We need to support labor and make college affordable and support career and technical education programs in every high school. Supply and demand has kicked in here in Oregon because so many people are moving here, and we need to get creative on housing, like multifamily units, duplexes, triplexes, and accessible dwelling units. We need to work with the city, county, and the federal governments together, HUD is not being very supportive of affordable housing at the moment, and we need to really demand that our Congress people help us get funding for that. We need to get help for mental health services to help our homeless. There's a 4-month waiting list on the Oregon Health Plan for mental health services, and we need to change some of the barriers to housing, like credit checks make it difficult, and criminal records sometimes make housing difficult as well. I'd also just add one other thing. Sometimes public-private partnerships are very good when they start out, but the low rents that are promised by the private partners don't last for the long term, and the housing becomes unaffordable in short order for the families.
Right. Thank you very much. Ms. Patterson, after several years with the coordinated care model for the Oregon Health Plan, what is your opinion of its implementation, and would you propose any changes statewide?
Absolutely. It was a brilliant idea that Governor Kitzhaber had, and I am very much in favor of the model. I think it's a very good one, although I have to state that I believe we should have universal access to health care for all, and we might not need that model as much as we do need it now. One of the things they did early on, and I'd like to see it be reinstituted, are the roundtables that they had to share best practices between the CCOs. Some of the CCOs are doing very well indeed, some are doing less well. And I believe some of the communication has fallen off on related to sharing of best practices, and I'd like to see that reinstated as well.
Thank you. Ms. Winters.
Oregon is a leader today, and it was in the past, in doing healthcare reform under Governor Kitzhaber, and has followed through to date. Fortunately, in Oregon, the CCOs were created, I believe, in 2009. And with that, we later adopted, which I think is extremely important, not only physical health, but behavioral health. You know, we finally came to a place where we actually said that health care, we need to deal with the entire body, not just parts of the body. And so the CCOs is a shared model. I don't know how many people understand what the CCOs do, but they're a shared model of cost. And it was through that shared model that we've been able to expand our access to care. In addition to being able to, hopefully one day, to be able to take care of not only the physical health, but the mental health as well, which is a tremendous need in our communities. The other part of it is that you're also getting, as a part of the CCO model, you're also getting public health. You're getting those stakeholders who actually have a reason for being at the table to help make certain we're doing two things. One, so that we can move more to a preventative model, which is less cost than it is a acute model, which is what we've always done in the past, and to lower the utilization on our ER. In the valley here, we have the highest utilization rate from here to Canada, from California to Canada. And when I tell my colleagues that, they actually question because they can't believe that that is true. But it is true. There is no competition here unlike Portland, where we have multiple hospitals. So for us, the Salem Health actually functions not only as the hospital, but all the ancillary services as well. And our CCOs, although we can always do better, but I have to commend the work that they're doing to make certain that we have access. In Oregon, we have over 1 million individuals that are on the Oregon Health Plan. When I began and did the first funding level, and she's got my stop now.
All right. Ms. Winters, the next question. Do you think the balance between individual and corporate taxes is appropriate? Please relate this to your vision of an ideal Oregon tax structure.
Oh, an ideal? Don't tell me that. I'm chronologically advantaged, you know that. But an ideal tax structure where everybody's paying their fair share, regardless of whether we're talking individual or whether we're talking corporation and whether we're talking small business. I was a small business owner, as you know, for 18 years. And we tend to treat small business corporations and everybody in the same basket. And yet, you know, the struggle in Oregon, and in Oregon, as you know, we have two ways of taxation, and that taxation is personal, corporate, and property tax. There's been some talk about, wanting to do a gross receipts or to have a sales tax. That's another way of saying sales tax, like California and some of the others. Interesting enough that, that gives 3 legs of the stool. Voters have rejected in this state 3 legs to the stool. And what they're basically saying is that if we do one, would you offset some of the other? And I do suspect that in the next session that there will be some discussion about reform. The other part of taxation, which we don't talk a lot about, that is another form of to the general public, and that taxation is called fees. We don't tend to lump them as taxes, but in fact they really are on that consumer who is actually either benefiting or not benefiting from it. So for us in Oregon, I think we have to put a spotlight on all of it. It's not just the corporate piece. It's not just the individual piece. It is not just the issue of whether or not we're going to do sales tax. I think the time is right for us to actually begin looking at all of the various taxations that we have in Oregon. And then with that, of what our actual expenditure needs are. Because you can't talk.
All right. Ms. Patterson.
I certainly would agree with Senator Winters that we do need to look at our taxation. When I'm out talking with people at knocking on doors, they're saying to me, we've had 3 bond issues in the past 3 years, which we very much supported. We supported the seismic upgrade for our library. We supported the bond issue to build a police facility. We've supported a bond issue to do some retrofitting and help expanding our school capacities. But one more bond and we're moving. We cannot, I believe that the residents of this district are beginning to feel very strongly that they're being asked to pay an inordinate share of the cost of educating our young people and keeping our infrastructure for the communities going by property taxes. And I believe we do need to ask large corporations to pay their fair share. It's interesting that you mentioned the gross receipts tax, the sector-based gross receipts tax. It was implemented in Ohio, which is a very fiscally conservative state, and it's working well there. What it would do is it would indeed look at the different sectors, manufacturing, agriculture, service, healthcare, and others, and require the corporations to pay a percentage based on their profit margins for that sector. It would be a more fair way of taxing larger corporations. Small businesses would pay a smaller amount, between $150 and $250 a year.
All right. Ms. Patterson, are you satisfied with the redistricting process in Oregon, and are you interested in suggesting reforms for redistricting?
I think it does need some improvement. I certainly value what's gone before, but there's always room for new eyes to look at issues. I believe there needs to be more citizen involvement and advisement, where I realize it's a matter for the legislature, but I do, having observed some of the districts around the state, it could use some improvement. I would very much like to see citizen involvement in the process.
All right. Thank you. All right. What is your answer?
Well, you're asking a person who there was the attempt to draw me out of the district so that I couldn't run to be your senator. And the process that we currently use is more than just the legislature. The process that is being used is that when the legislature cannot come to an agreement as to how those boundaries should be drawn. And remember, the legislature can be very, very political, and there's often some challenges. And in that process, it is then punted to the Secretary of State's office to redraw those lines. And if that doesn't occur, it then goes to court. To be drawn. And in the instance that involved me, it was the then Democratic Secretary of State who decided that he was going to draw the lines, and he drew me 3 blocks out of the district so that I could not run. I thought that I could not run for the Senate seat. And fortunately, I had my children lived within the district, and so we were able to exchange homes. in order so that I could run. And then I later moved into the district itself. But I agree, it's politically, it can become quite a problem. I'm not sure whether adding citizens to it would solve the problem, but I do think that it is one every year that we're coming up with redistricting. I'd like to take the politics out of it. I'd like to take the politics out because it really should be that we don't gerrymander districts. And right now, that's exactly what has occurred. The gerrymandering so that you can actually benefit one party over another party, and I'd like to see that discontinued.
Thank you. Ms. Winters, in your view, what is the legislature's role in combating climate change? And how high is it on your legislative priority list?
Well, I think we all have a responsibility, not only just the legislature, but those of us who are part of this planet. Have a responsibility. As you know, living in Oregon, that we're very proud of some things that we've done here in this state, not only as we relate to climate change, but after that relates to cleaning up our streams and our whole environment. So yes, I don't think anybody can deny that there is climate change. The question becomes not just the issue of climate change, of how many alternatives and what all are we going to do about it, including, how much does the automobile play? How much does the forest fires that happens in our state play? What can we do to actually lower those emissions, not only cleaning the forest floor and getting the fuel off of those floors, so that we don't have so many forest fires, because that truly is, the emissions from that is greater than the automobile, in fact. What can we do about, I think there's some research that's going on that has to do with the seaweed and kelp. How can that be utilized in a way in order to actually reduce climate change? I don't think that we've touched all of the research and all that is there in order to make some really good decisions. But I think they are there. And I think we should look at them all. And I think we should come up with not just a way of dealing with it, but that we should deal with multiple ways of dealing with the issue of climate change.
Thank you. Ms. Patterson.
Well, I believe that global climate change is the single largest issue facing our world today, and the young people are extremely concerned about it, and I join them in sharing that concern. I'm in favor of the clean energy jobs bill that is being possibly coming for consideration at the next legislative session, and I'd like to be at the table to be in the discussions about that. I feel we need to ask the largest companies in our state, the largest polluters, that is, many don't pollute at all, but those who are the largest polluters have to be responsible for what they're doing to our environment for future generations. I support clean energy jobs. Those investments for capping carbon emissions need to create good paying living wage jobs, and there's all kinds of opportunity, from wave technology to generate electricity to biodiesel to many other forms of exciting initiatives around wind and solar that are being done by entrepreneurs today. What a great opportunity we have both to mitigate the effects of global climate change and to invest in the future of our state, which is a great state, and we want to keep it that way.
Thank you. Ms. Winters, your closing statement?
Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm honored to be your state senator. I have been on Ways and Means during almost my entire career as your legislator. I am currently co-vice chair of full Ways and Means, and I co-chair public safety, and I'm on human services, working to keep communities safe. I have worked across the aisle, working with my colleagues to actually resolve and to come to positive resolutions to many issues facing our state. I find it interesting because there are 60 legislators and 90 senators. And if we don't come together, working together, we're not able to actually solve and resolve problems that exist in our state. I often hear about how do you get things done. Well, you get things done by building relationships, building integrity, and working together. I am known as that individual that works together across the aisle. When I'm elected, it's not about being a Republican, nor a Democrat, or an independent. It is about serving you. It is about working with my colleagues to solve problems in order to get the job done. And Senator Courtney and I have worked, he's the Senate President. Not only do I serve on Ways and Means, but there are so many times that I'm called in order to work on things like the Joint Transportation Package. I was the individual that was called to work on the issue of access to health care, to make certain that not only access to health care, but also the issue of cost containment. So when there is the need of crossing the aisle or bringing in the experience that is needed, then I am that person that is often called in order to do the job on your behalf. I hope to continue this work and to bring bipartisan solutions to the issues we face. And I ask for your vote to continue the work that I have been doing on your behalf for almost 20 years.
Ms. Patterson, your closing remarks?
Oh, thank you, Diana. When I'm remembered, of course, I want to first be remembered for having been a good person, a faithful wife and a mom, a good friend, a person of faith, and a committed, involved citizen. I want to be remembered as someone with integrity who keeps her word and who worked and will work hard each day to help others. Professionally, I'll want to be remembered as someone who strived lifelong for access to health care through my leadership at the IPNRC and other organizations with which I've been involved over the years. I've served on the boards of a health system, a women's transitional housing program, and a National Council of Human Service Organizations, among many others. I've accomplished a fair amount in the past, but I'm not looking to the past. I'm looking to keep serving. I'm looking to the future. A future in which every Oregonian has access to affordable quality health care, a future in which every student in Oregon gets a great education and opportunities for career technical education or college to prepare for good jobs, a future in which every Oregonian has a home and the resources needed to live lives of dignity, a future in which we continue to care for the environment and about our neighbors, no matter where they are from. As author Terry Tempest Williams has said, the eyes of the future are looking back at us, and they are praying for us to see beyond our own time. Thank you.
That is all the time we have. You've been watching Your Vote Counts, candidate interviews for Legislative Senate District Number 10 with Ms. Deb Patterson and Ms. Jackie Winters. We hope you will watch our other candidate forums, and please see CCTV website for the time and dates. These programs are a public service to voters to become more acquainted with candidates who hope to lead our city, county, and state governments in the coming years. The last day to register to vote or make changes to your registration is October 16th. Ballots will be mailed on October 17th and should be returned by November 6th at 8 p.m. Postmarks do not count. We urge you to make democracy work and be a voter. This is Diana Bodker for the League of Women Voters and CCTV, thanking you for watching Your Vote Counts.